All right. Hey, everybody. How's everybody doing today? Let me take this down. Hey, everybody. What's going on? Today, we're going to drop some bombs today. Little by little, little by little. Hey, Chief. Welcome to the chat, everybody. Everybody watching. Welcome to the chat. Hey, Chief. There's my brother. You look great, brother. I see you got your hair, all your dreads wrapped up. Look at all that hair. Almost down to his butt, y'all. It looks nice. I can't hear you. Hey, 11 Truth. Hey, Original Intellect. David. Hi, Bridget. Pretty girl. Kahi. Lou. Hey, Lou. Hey, Queen Mai, Rodney. Oh, everybody up in here. My Lisa, Elise. Hey, big dog. Hey, let me know, Chief, when you got your mic connected. We gonna go through some stuff today because I was tired. And I'm trying to develop all kinds of ways to get our people unindoctrinated because our people are severely indoctrinated. And the sad part and the scariest part is everybody who we think is us is not us. And that's a fact. Everybody who you think is us is not us. A lot of people that have come over here that look like us are not us. However, they pretend to be us. They've been hiding under their identities from the countries that they come from for a very long time. And you always thought they were you, and they're not. Hey, Chief, can you hear? I don't know what's wrong with Chief microphone. Okay, he just muted it. You just muted your mic, Chief. Now he done went off the panel. What is going on? What is going on? But what we're going to get in today is overcoming a life under the belief in control. Okay, maybe that'll be. Hey, Chief.
Sister Betty, can you hear me?
Oh, God, yes. Now I can hear you really good.
Man, I was in there messing with that thing forever. Shit, I just went out, came back in.
I
Hey,
can hear you good.
do I sound pretty good though right now? So I'm gonna leave it
Yes,
alone.
it's not echoing.
Cool. Hey man,
It's not.
peace of the tribe, man. How everybody doing?
Hey.
We up in this
So,
piece.
yes, we are. And I'm not going to waste a whole lot of time talking. I'm going to get straight to the slides. It's quite a few of them. And as soon as I finish reading all the slides, I'm going to pin the link to the top because I'm sure people are going to have some input to help. Over here, it's all about helping. Hey, D. Allen, it's all about contributing and making things make sense in our history. And today's segment, Chief, is truly about overcoming a life under the belief and control of all democratic civil rights leaders, Black religious leaders, including Jesse Jackson and now Sharpton, part 2. And this is going to be a series because I'm going to keep pulling up information, debunking the history that was imposed on us about our ancestors who are not from Africa. And it's all going to make sense when you begin to see the real culprits behind our history and hiding who we are over here on the mainland and how people that look like us come over here and benefit off of what our benefits were supposed to be. Remember, Martin Luther King never went to DC to get his check. And I don't think, who knows, maybe Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton went and picked the check up. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if they did. Maybe they didn't. I don't know who picked the check up, but somebody picked up the check that Martin Luther King was supposed to pick up, and I don't know who picked it up. It wasn't me.
Well, I just got to say, you know what I'm saying, now that we know that he was a part of the Big Six and he was getting checks, you know what I'm saying? You know, people could say, hey, man, he woke up and he wanted to start exposing stuff, and that's why they disposed of him, right? Is that a good word to use? But we also understand um, the Democrats as well as the Republicans are lock, stock, and barrel with APEC or the APAC, the Israeli pact. You know what I'm saying? To Israel, I said APAC. That's the oil thing. APAC, right? So we're talking about real stuff, and these are the same people. Ultimately, are when we talk about when Open Society, aka George Soros's company, took over the contract for black, where the black dollars go to, right? Like I'm just going. We're not going to go back and forth. We're just going to call it what it is. So that way we don't have to come back to this. We go to the origin of where the money's come from, right? These people, Open Society took the contract in '91, right? So all funds that are allocated to black people, right, go through these Zionist institutions. Period. Who are funded with our tax dollars through the CIA, through the budget, which, you know, the black program has over 100 billion dollar budget. How about just having $100 billion budget for our babies, for all the miseducation? How about having $1 trillion budget to clean up our communities? How about that? You see what I'm saying? So, Sister Betty, you know, like I said, I'm tired of hypocrisy. I'm tired of the talking. People are talking just to talk us to sleep. Al Sharpton talks to talk us to sleep. He's had a 60, 70-year run of nothing burger. You see what I'm saying? Everybody should be ashamed of themselves. We still talking about Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton. Not us, we just because we're exposing it. That they're still in a position that their influence matters. Al Sharpton hasn't had influence since the 90s. And he wasn't even influenced then because niggas knew what he did in the 80s.
Well,
Okay?
this segment today
Yeah.
is not about APAC. I feel
I'll
that
be about that.
no, and I understand what you're saying. You
Yeah.
know, because I have nothing negative to say about Jews, Palestinians, Israel, or none of that.
Oh, I never said
Only
Jews.
because it doesn't, yeah, or APAC or anything.
Israel, the
Okay,
regime,
I have no
Netanyahu,
right.
the
I have
Zionists,
nothing. Yeah, I have
kindergarten system. Well,
nothing
no,
to
no,
say
no.
about
I'm
those
just saying though.
areas.
Every crime, their fingers. How about this? If there was a conspiracy, they give conspiracy charges, right? They give okay, you're a part of the conspiracy to traffic drugs, right? They give niggas conspiracy charges, even if you didn't have nothing to do with it. You just a part of it. You're a part of the conspiracy. You knew about it. That means that you're a part of the conspiracy. Knowing about it, you didn't even tell that this was happening. Then you're a part of the motherfucking conspiracy, correct? They are the originators of the conspiracy. Our government is working with them. That has to be addressed. Period. We're not gonna go back and forth. Hey, why is this happening? Langley, why is this happening? Hey, DC, why is this happening? Hey, Supreme Court, why is this happening on our soil? Why is this clandestine group doing these things to us? Oh, it didn't happen? Okay, well, we already have Freedom of Information Act, 60, 70 years of this happening to us, over 100 years of this happening to us. So make that make sense. So we're not going to go back and forth and argue with y'all about restitution for the crimes and the things that have happened. We can go all day back and forth about these clowns, but that's us even exposing more of it. How many times we going to do that, Sister Beth? How many times we going
Okay,
to expose?
so
No, no,
well
no. Listen,
because
listen. I'm gonna let you cook, but I just want to. I already know where you're going with this, so I'm gonna lay it out so we can come back and revisit. Hey, this is where these people. We should have been counseled Jesse Jackson. We should have been counseled Al Sharpton. And for
There
you to
wasn't
have to
nobody
do it
bold
now,
enough to
sis,
do it.
crazy.
But
That's my
yeah,
point.
I know.
That's my
I
point.
know.
That's why I told you. I said that was the greatest thing. Like right now, he know his soul hurting. He know
Yeah,
what
he
you told him
is.
was the truth.
Yeah, he knows it. That's why he
Feel
did
me?
what he did
So you got it. Salute
to
to you though.
create a NAN program. So like I said, this is not about Israel, any Jews, any Palestinians. That's not my focus. I have too much in my own community to work with to involve myself or pay any attention to what's going on in other countries. I have no interest. The only interest I have is educating our people properly and getting them on the right think tank track. Seriously. And what I'm lecturing about, it's not graved in stone. Our people are educated. They are very educated people. However, they've been indoctrinated by other people. And they've been clinging under these horrible religious leaders. It's not the white man's job to educate our community. The very leaders you see in front of us, I'm using modern day language. Black leaders are supposed to be educating our community, and they're doing a lousy, ineffective job. So it's going to take me and people like you to educate our people. And once we provide them with a starting point or plant the seed in them, because a seed was planted in our people a long time ago. It's called the Christian Bible. They can't think without reciting verses from that book. And I'm going to get them to understand that it's a book. It's a book that you picked up and read. Here's the book. You picked up a book and read it. And you need to understand the people that Jesus is talking to in that book are the people that were standing right in front of him. And a pastor is teaching this now. May he excel to the highest ever. He's starting to teach our people that it is a book, and you're reading a book that's a very long book, and the characters in the Bible are dealing with each other, not you. Understand that. Okay? So, until you overcome the life and belief and control of all Black democratic civil rights leaders, Black religious leaders, including Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton, it's going to be very difficult for you to really see the big picture of who you are. Who you are in my community, you're very important. No one's ever told you that. Probably granny and mommy. But no, I'm very serious. You'll begin to understand that you've been standing on your land this whole time for generations and generations and generations and thousands of years. And for those millennial generation X, which is my generation, the millennial generation, the generation after me, Generation Z, we got to help the future generations understand. We don't want them to come out indoctrinated like we were. We have to fix this problem because it was imposed on us by our parents, but on our parents through force, and they had an ultimatum. So this is what life was thrown to us, and we have to wake up out of it. This is breaking the chains, what you see today, and you got to understand.
Facts.
All right, let's get it. So let's smash up the history lessons we were taught. Okay. We have the 13 colonies. 11 and 12 is showing, but down there in New Jersey, you'll see them in the next slide. But first of all, this is a map that they make, and this is why you have to be very careful of who's putting information out in the universe for you, because it's there to deceive you regardless. All right. First of all, this map is showing Canada and Nova Scotia. All right. And this is supposed to be a colonial time map. Canada and Nova Scotia was not even thought of. That was not Canada. And that was not Nova Scotia. Canada didn't get established until July 1st, 1867. Why is it on a colonial map? Nova Scotia did not get discovered or established or incorporated, or however you want to put it, until July 1st, 1867. It should not be on a colonial map. And that's a fact. Virginia was established in 1607, New York 1626, Massachusetts Bay 1630, Maryland 1633, Rhode Island 1636, Connecticut 1636, New Hampshire 1638, Delaware 1638, North Carolina 1653, South Carolina 1663, New Jersey 1664. And there's two more. You'll see it in a minute. But anyway, let's read, because what you need to understand before you think that the colonies were the entire state, like they didn't have the entire state of Virginia. Okay. Same thing with New York. It wasn't the entire New York that they had. You have to understand who the colonists were dealing with. They were dealing with the Indians that were here, our ancestors. Okay. We gave them the portion. In the next slides, you're going to see which areas of these specific colonies that they had. Okay. So let's get it. The Virginia colony was the first colony. It was in 1607. English colonists established several key areas in Virginia. The first permanent settlement was Jamestown, founded in 1607. Now, it was already, this land was already there, but it was founded in 1607. Other notable areas when they began to expand a little bit included Charles City, Elizabeth City, and Henrico, which were part of the initial 4 incorporations established in 1619. Additionally, the area that would become Yorktown was settled around the same time as Jamestown, though it was officially founded in 1691. These locations formed the foundation of the Virginia colony, which later expanded and developed into a significant part of British North America. That was the only colony. Let's get it. New York. I'm not going to read it all. New York. The colonists, primarily the Dutch, established settlements in 2 key areas of what is now New York, New Amsterdam, present-day Manhattan, okay, Manhattan, and Fort Orange, which is present-day Albany. These settlements were part of the larger Dutch colony of New Netherland. Now, in New York, they only had New Amsterdam, which is Manhattan, and Fort Orange, which is Albany. That's it. That's it. The rest of New York was the Indians. The rest of the land in New York, you know, is big as hell. All the rest of the land was the Indians. Same thing with Virginia. Massachusetts, 1620. British colonists established several areas in Massachusetts, most notably Plymouth Colony and the Massachusetts Bay Colony. The Plymouth Colony, founded in 1620, was the first permanent settlement by Europeans in New England. Later, the Massachusetts Bay Colony was established in 1630, with major settlements including Boston, Salem, Dorchester. Other areas settled by colonists include Charlestown, Roxbury, Watertown, Weymouth, and Gloucester. Now, those came later, but those are the specific areas that they expanded to within Massachusetts. But Massachusetts is big as hell. All the rest of the land was the Indians. Facts. Let's get it. We're doing a 13 colony and their little areas. The initial Maryland. was established in 1634. The initial settlement established by colonists in Maryland, all they had was St. Mary's City, and it was founded in March 1634 on the site of a former Yacomico Indian village. It served as the first capital of the Maryland colony. Later, colonists expanded and established other areas, including parts of Calvert and Charles counties, and eventually Annapolis, which became the capital in 1695. That's it. All the rest of the land was the Indians. Let's get it. Rhode Island, founded by Roger Williams in 1636. Providence was founded by William Rogers in 1636. These are just little areas of Rhode Island. Portsmouth, established in 1638 by a group including William Coddington and Anne Hutchinson, who were also seeking religious freedom and refuge from the Massachusetts Bay Colony. So they ran up there and established space up there. Then Newport, also founded by Coddington and others in 1639. Warwick, founded by Samuel Gorton in 1642. Warwick was known for its independent spirit and its citizens' willingness to stand up to authority. That's it for Rhode Island. Those are the only areas. They didn't have the whole Rhode Island. There were Indians there. The Wampanoag, all of them was up there. Connecticut, my state, where I reside, where I was born. The early English colonists in Connecticut established settlements in several areas, primarily along the Connecticut River and Long Island Sound. Key settlements include, now this is all they had in Connecticut: Windsor, Wethersfield, Hartford, Saybrook, New Haven, Fairfield, Guilford, Milford, Stratford, Farmington. These came later. New London. These settlements, initially independent, eventually united to form the Connecticut colony. That's it. And these are small areas in Connecticut. They're different towns, but they're small. They're not huge. Now, New Haven's big. But understand, there were Indians in the other parts of Connecticut. New Hampshire. The earliest English colonists established 4 major towns in New Hampshire: Portsmouth, Dover, Exeter, and Hampton. That's it. These towns were founded between 1623 and 1638. All right, that's it for New Hampshire. All the rest of the land belonged to the Indians. The Indians did business with these colonists, and they gave them here. You can have this area, Portsmouth, Dover, Exeter, and Hampton. That's it. All the rest of the area was Indians. Delaware. The first European colonists in Delaware established settlements at Fort Christina, which is present-day Wilmington, in 1638. And also at Lewes, which is initially called Zawandendale, whatever. Additionally, the Dutch established Fort Casimir, later Newcastle, and New Amstel in the 1650s. These settlements represented the initial European presence in the area, with the Swedish and Dutch laying claim to the land and establishing trading posts and fortifications. That's it for Delaware. All the other part of the land of Delaware was Indians' land. Like, you had to work with the Indians to get those pieces of land, our ancestors. These were not Asian people that was saying, okay, you can sit here. No, those were our ancestors. North Carolina colonists in North Carolina settled primarily along the coast, particularly the Albemarle and Cape Fear regions. Later, they expanded inland into the Piedmont and eventually to foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. Now, y'all know South Carolina and North Carolina was one, and then they split up due to, I don't know, royals having issues. So they split up North Carolina. It's still Carolina, but you had the northern part and you had the southern part, which is South Carolina. Okay. So when they got to North Carolina, they had these areas. Then it split up. They already had these areas before it was called North Carolina. It was just Carolina. And this is the area they had, Albemarle and Cape. And then they got a split. They put a governor in North Carolina and one in South Carolina. So now we're in South Carolina. And the early colonists primarily settled along the coast, with the first permanent settlement established at Albemarle Point, later Charlestown, now Charleston, and the Ashley River. That's it. That's it. That is it. That's all they had. A big, giant South Carolina was just Charleston. That's it. No other area. All the other area of the land belonged to the Catawba, the Creeks, Cherokee. All the rest of the land belonged to them three Indians. All the rest of the North and South Carolina land belonged to the Indians, other than what they were given. The Europeans was given. New Jersey. Colonists initially settled along waterways like the Hudson River, Newark Bay, and the Delaware River and Bay. Key areas included Bergen, now which is New Jersey, Hackensack, Newark, and Acquaconnet, along the Hudson and Passac River, as well as areas near the Raritan River. Southern parts of the colony along the Delaware River were also settled with towns like Salem. That's all they had in New Jersey, just those few areas. They didn't have the entire New Jersey. The areas they got, it was an agreement between them and the Indians. They settled there and then named it New Jersey. This is colonial time with the British dealing with the Indians. Pennsylvania. Early colonists in Pennsylvania settled primarily along the Delaware River Valley, with the first settlements focused on what is now the Philadelphia area and the three lower counties, later Delaware. These early settlements include those of Dutch, Swedish, and Finns. William Penn's arrival in 1682 marked the beginning of the significant English Quaker settlement. These are just people, English people, the Quakers, expanding the areas colonized northward and westward from the Delaware River. Those are the only areas, and you know how damn big Pennsylvania is. Those were the only areas that the Quakers had, English Quakers. That's all they had. That was the only area in Pennsylvania. All the other land belonged to the Indians, because the Indians is who they work with to get these portions of land. Okay? Any land outside of what the English colonies named their land, any land outside that was called territory. It was Indian territory. So outside, and that's through all 13 colonies, any land that the colonizers did not name as their state, in Pennsylvania it was a colony. Any other areas of the land was Indian territory. Georgia. Colonists initially settled in areas along the coast and river, including Savannah, Darien, Brunswick, Fort Frederica, on Simmons and Island, and Augusta. Later, the colony expanded westward along rivers like the Savannah and Chattahoochee, opening up new areas for settlement. But at this time, this is 1732, the only areas they had was Savannah. That's it. All the rest of the land was Indian territory. They gave the British Savannah. And later on, you see how we expanded and joined. And you're wondering where, when they expanded to the 50 states, where did all the Indians go? They were still there. But they joined the Union. But I'm going ahead of myself. Let's keep going. Now, for you pandoodles, you guys are really a joke. The British government versus United States. British government ruled from 1607 to 1776. United States came in place July 4th, 1776. Now, the 13 colonies are here: Virginia, New York, Massachusetts Bay, Maryland, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New Hampshire, Delaware, North Carolina, South Carolina, and New Jersey. Okay, and where's the other ones? New Jersey and the other two. New Jersey, you know the other two. It's short. It clipped off on my slide. Okay, that was in 1607. The British government was in power. Then the Revolutionary War came, and the United States was established. The United States was established on July 4th, 1776. The 13 colonies became the United States of America. They took over the British colony and took independence. They gained their independence of the 13 colonies, not the 50 states yet. So now, that being said, give me a 1 if you're with me. The British government ruled from 1607 to 1776. United States formed after the Revolutionary War, becoming the United States of the 13 colonies. They became 13 states. Give me a 1. I know you're with me. This is very elementary. Now, pan boo-boos. Here's what you need to know. Nope. The 13 colonies. Nope. The United States did not come into existence in 1787. Wrong. These were the 13 colonies became the United States. That was the first time, because they took over from British. British no longer ruled July 4th, 1776. They took over. Now, when they begin to expand, okay, they rewrote the Constitution, and 1787 is when the United States began coming into existence. They began to grow. The 13 colonies began to grow, and the Indians joined the Union with their portions of the land. Now, here's what I want you to visually see. I don't know what's wrong with the pan boo-boos, but United States government never imported slaves. I'm going to say it again. United States government never imported slaves. All the slave importation came from the British. All of it. All the slaving came from the British. That was when British was bringing slaves over to the Americas, not the United States. Now, let's get it. About to show you why. The importation of enslaved people by British stretched across several centuries, with the peak occurring in the 18th century. That's the 1700s. Now, here comes the lying shit. In 1555, John Locke, an Englishman, is the first recorded individual to take enslaved people from Africa to England. To England, not the United States. From Africa to England. Africa to England. Let's get it, y'all. In 1555, John Locke, an Englishman, is the first recorded individual to take enslaved people from Africa to England. Let's get it, y'all. Africa to England. In 1562, John Hawkins initiates the English slave trade with voyages to Sierra Leone, transporting enslaved people to the Caribbean. (1619) 20 enslaved Africans landed at Point Comfort, today's Fort Monroe, in Hampton, Virginia, aboard the English privateer ship White Lion. In Virginia, these Africans were traded in exchange for supplies. Get your laugh on. Those are the only Africans, so-called fake, all right, brought to the mainland. That's it. 20 Africans, that's it. In 1619. That's it. In 1663, the Company of Royal Adventures, with royal backing, received a new patent intensifying English involvement in the slave trade. In 1672, the Royal African Company is formed to regulate English slave trade, holding a monopoly over parts of the African coast. 1698, the monopoly of the Royal African Company ends, opening up the slave trade to other ports like Bristol and Liverpool, which subsequently grow wealthy from trade. This is all in the 1600s, early to late 1600s. The Africans were being brought from Africa to England. Don't get it twisted. Not Africa to New England. There was no existence of the United States at this time. This was British slave trading. Okay? So when you want your reparations, you go to the British government and get it. The United States don't owe you shit. The United States government wasn't even formulated or established. Not in the 1500s, not in the 1600s, no United States established. So why are you banging on my country's, my land, United States doors for reparations? You want reparations? You go to the British government. That's who was transporting slaves. They didn't transport them here. They transported them from Africa to England, not here. Get off my tax dollars. You're not getting it. And I'm telling you, United States government did not transport slaves. That is British government time. The monopoly of the Royal African Company ends, opening up the slave trade to other ports like Bristol and Liverpool, which subsequently grew healthy from trade. In 1807, the Act to abolish transatlantic slave trade is passed in Parliament, banning the slave trade within the British Empire. This was a major victory for abolitionists like William Wilberforce. However, this act did not immediately abolish slavery itself. In 1833, the Slavery Abolition Act is passed, which formally ends slavery across British colonies, along with an apprenticeship scheme for enslaved individuals. In 1838, the apprenticeship scheme for formerly enslaved individuals and the Caribbean ends, marking the effective end of slavery in the British Empire. It's important to note that even after 1807, an illicit slave trade continued across the Atlantic, with over 1 million Africans transported to the Americas, mainly Cuba and Brazil. You want reparations? Go to the British government. Those of you claiming to be African Americans, you need to go to the British government. United States did not transport slaves from Africa to here on the mainland. British Empire transported slaves from Africa to England, to the Caribbean, to Cuba and Brazil and Jamaica. Go to the British government for your tears of your ancestors being so-called snatched out of Africa. It was brought to England, and then England was getting overloaded with them. So they started pushing them in Caribbean islands, not mainland. The Indians wasn't having it. Now, here's the funny part. The first illegal immigrants entered in the United States, laughing my ass off. First illegal immigrants. Here we go. On July 9th, 1860, the slave ship Clotilda arrived in Mobile, Alabama, with 110 African men, women, and children. This was 52 years after the international slave trade was outlawed. The ship was then burned and sunk to conceal the illegal act. The Clotilda, the last known slave ship to arrive in the United States, was brought to America by Captain William Foster under the commission of mobile businessman Timothy Meare. Meare wagered that he could import enslaved Africans into Mobile, Alabama, despite the 1807 ban on the international slave trade. Captain Foster sailed the Clotilda to West Africa, get your laugh on, where he purchased and transported 110 enslaved black people to Mobile. Now, y'all little people running around there in Mobile, Alabama talking about your family was brought there, you better keep your mouth shut, because Trump ain't playing with deportations. You are, according to this, you are the first illegal immigrants to enter the United States. So you better be careful that he don't go and swap y'all up and deport you, because you're an illegal immigrant. Because dude said the ship was burned and sunk to conceal the illegal act. That was an illegal act. Bling, bling, bling. That there are the Clotilda people. Y'all the first illegal immigrants. First illegal immigrants. That is a fact. So I don't understand, according to this history, how you guys are trying to get reparations when the United States didn't import slaves. The British did. And the British subjects took over the 13 colonies after the Civil War. They didn't bring the slaves here. They were subjects themselves. They were the slaves. They were British subjects. The British subjects formed a union and every damn body joined. And when they formed a union, they didn't go get slaves. During the period when enslaved Africans were being transported to southern colonies, okay, Native Americans, now y'all know this was written in history because wasn't no Native Americans back then. None. Were simultaneously experiencing their own forms of enslavement and displacement, often at the hands of European colonists and even the other Native American groups. While some Native Americans were captured and sold into slavery, others were drawn into the bargaining trade of deerskins and other goods, which often involved the enslavement of other Native Americans by those seeking European goods. The relationship between Native Americans and enslaved Africans was complex, with instances of both conflict and cooperation, including instances of both groups being enslaved together and even intermarrying. And let's keep going, y'all, because this is some funny stuff. Now, the civil rights laws in the United States protect all individuals from discrimination based on characteristics like race, color, religion, sex, national origin, disability, and age. These laws ensure equal opportunities in areas such as employment, housing, education, and public accommodations. Essentially, civil rights law aim to guarantee that everyone has the same social opportunities and legal protections, regardless of their background. Those are civil rights laws. Okay. The 13th and 14th Amendments to the U.S. Constitution primarily address the rights and protections of formerly enslaved people and all citizens of the United States. Now, formerly enslaved people, who were they? The only enslaved people on the mainland North America were those 20 odd enslaved people back in 1600s. Okay. 1619, they brought to Virginia. And the Indians. Those were the only enslaved people. That's it. And white people. Enslaved and involuntary servitude. Involuntary servitude. The 13th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution was ratified in 1865. It was passed by Congress on January 31st, 1865, and ratified on December 6, 1865. The 13th Amendment abolished slavery and involuntary servitude. The only people experiencing that were the, I guess we could say, those 20 odd slaves that were brought here, descendants. So I can't imagine how many kids they had in Virginia. It was just 20 of them. The 14th Amendment, ratified in 1868, granted citizenship to all persons born or naturalized in the United States, including formerly enslaved people, and guaranteed them equal protection under the law and due process. Now, before we keep moving, you need to understand who does AI information come from. Because some of y'all do Google this stuff and then y'all just get like, ooh, I found the information. No. You got to be careful. More sneaky ways to indoctrinate you. But it's by journalists and reporters. These individuals cover the news and developments in AI for major publications like the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, Wired, and VentureBeat. Researchers and academics. AI research at institutions like Stanford, MIT, Google DeepMind, and Carnegie Mellon University publish their findings and insights in academic papers, blogs, and other resources. Company spokespeople and content creators. AI companies like OpenAI, Google, and Amazon Web Services, AWS, have blogs and publications that share updates on their AI products, research, and applications. Authors and writers. Authors and writers are part of putting out the information in AI. Individuals write books and articles about AI for a broader audience, explaining complex concepts, exploring the impact of AI, and using AI tools in their writing process. Educators and trainers. Experts in AI and related fields create educational materials, courses, and workshops to help people learn about AI and its applications. These diverse voices contribute to the constantly evolving landscape of AI information, making it accessible to a wider audience and driving advancements in the field. So I want to get to the talking points. First, now you know the difference between United States government and the British Empire, the British government. The British government was transporting slaves, not the United States. Sorry. Even when the subjects, the British subjects, rose up, when they rose up and took over after the Revolutionary War, when they rose up and took over the 13 colonies, they didn't import no damn slaves. You know how many millions of Indians was across this landmass? They didn't import slaves on the mainland. All the slave bringing was where I just showed you. It was the British government transporting slaves, not the United States government. So you're not getting any damn reparations off of United States tax dollars for what the British did to you. The British subjects didn't transport you as a slave from Africa. The British government did, but they brought you to England and the Caribbean. United States doesn't sit on the Caribbean. United States sits on mainland North America. I'm not playing with y'all today. So Umar and all you pan boo-boos, I'm sorry. Jesse Jackson and them need to cancel Christmas and Al Sharpton because they need to prove they're running around with the little African story. But okay, did you find your parents over in England or in the Caribbean somewhere? And if you did, you need to go to the British government. They still exist. The Queen, all of them, they still exist over there. Who's over there? The grandkids now? You need to contact them, not us. The British government is responsible for all importation of slaves into America. Facts. Facts. The question relies, well, damn, who were the slaves? It was 20 of them in Virginia. That's it. And they were brought in the Virginia colony where the British took over. Those were the only slaves brought in on the mainland by the British government in Virginia. 20. Go find their grandkids. And when you do, you can tell them to go to the British government because that's who brought your 20 grandparents over here. That's what I'm saying. So now, let me see. I'm ready for the smoke or for your addition to prove me wrong because United States did not import slaves. We didn't import slaves. United States government, these here 50 states, we didn't do slave importing from Africa to here. No, we did not. They do a lottery system where they let them come here willingly, but you have no reparations claims on the United States. Your claims are with the British government. So stop faking like you're us because you're not. The only enslaved people that were on here, whether it was prisoner of war, involuntary servitude, or servitude, were the Indians and white Europeans and some black Europeans, I guess. I'm not debating nobody about no damn black Europeans because that's probably who they were, during the 13 colonies. I'm not fighting over that because, I really don't care. All I care about is the Indians on the land. So I leave that to y'all to fight over whether they were black Europeans, white, I don't care. I don't. But my point is to show these wannabe African Americans where you need to go for your damn reparations or any money you're looking for. When you're talking about Indians, you're talking about a whole different group of people. You're talking about slave importations, you need to go to the British Empire if your family somehow landed here based on that. Landed, but they were brought in Brazil and Cuba and the Caribbean islands, not on the mainland. That's where the British brought them. They're telling you where they brought them. They only brought 20 over here on the mainland in 1619. So bring your smoke and let me know why you think you deserve reparations from the United States government for being an enslaved. Brought from Africa. Prove you were brought from Africa. If you're coming to say that your family was brought here on a Clotilda, I think you should be silent and don't reveal yourself, because Trump is on a rampage and he's deporting illegal immigrants. If your parents came here, snuck in here illegally on the Clotilda, he may deport you. Seriously. So I'm going to take a little break. I'm going to pin the link in the chat. And I'd just like to hear your thoughts on this. I really would like to hear your thoughts on this. Come on the panel. Stop being scared. I know I don't have the arguments where we call each other bitches and hoes, but I'm just not going to do it. It's pinned to the top. I'm going to take a little music break, and I'll wait for you to come up here in the back because I want to hear what your thoughts are. Seriously, I really do. I want to hear what your thoughts are. I'm not reading any comments. I don't have time to do that. I'm a lecturer on the panel. Be a young man or a young woman. Be brave. Hit the link and come up and talk to me like a human being. If you can't do that, I don't know what else to tell you. I think it's quite rude. If you want to talk to me, come on the panel. I'm not reading comments. I don't have time. It's too many. It's 986 people in it watching. Be respectful enough to hit the link. It's pinned to the top. The segment is open. I want to hear. I mean, how are you a fighter for the people and you can't hit the link and come on a panel? Seriously. I'm serious. If you're a fighter for the people and you can't show your face and you can't hit the link or the panel, that's like a coward, being a coward. See, I'm into strong people who ain't afraid to step on a panel and talk. Let's get it. I'll wait. I got all night. Yeah, I'm playing it to be funny. You don't get it? You're very slow. Look, you got to go to the British and seek them for reparations, not our United States tax dollar. Sorry, not happening. You saw where the British are the ones who imported slaves, not the United States government. Our United States government is built and still standing based on our tax dollars, whether it's federal or state level. Our tax dollars have nothing to do with compensating you for something the British Empire did, not the British subjects. Don't get the British subjects mixed up with the British Empire. The British subjects were brought over here to work on the plantation fields and cotton fields, not people from Africa. They were brought to the, let's get it. Well, because you're the only one in the chat room that want to talk to me, but you want to talk from the chat and not come on the panel and be a man or a woman, because I don't know if you're a man or a woman, and speak about it. Am I seriously? Bring the smoke. See, fear me. You must fear me. You must be afraid of me, because I bring nothing but facts. Prove to me while you're in the chat. I even asked you in the chat, when did the United States government, okay? Do you know what the United States government is? When did they import slaves from Africa? Please, I can put it back up for you. You're a funny dude or a funny lady. I can bring it back up to you. Let's put it back up here. Let me take this down. Smash that like button, because this is going to be funny. I can bring it back up to you. Let's go back there. You don't know the difference. You wasn't looking. I'm only talking about the mainland. I don't give a damn about any other areas other than the land that my ancestors been on. The British government was in power in the little 13 colonies from 1607 to 1776. The only slaves they brought here were on the mainland was in Virginia. That's it. 20 slaves. West Africa wasn't even established until 1830. With the day home, Wakanda forever. Let's get it. You cannot blame the United States government for the actions of the British government, because when the British were in power in 1607 to 1776 over here in the little 13 colonies, they brought and sent their subjects here. They sent the worst from the worst according to them and their transcripts, from England over to here. Well, what's going on, Straight Smoke, is people don't know the difference. In 1776, the British subjects rose up together, Revolutionary War, and took over the 13 colonies. But those slaves came before they did that. That was the British Empire bringing them over here. So, United States developed a tax system. You know, the money that's taken out your check. That ain't had nothing to do with the British government. Prove me wrong. That's all I'm asking. Come on the panel. I'm going to sit here. Don't be scared. So what are you talking about, Golden Brown? Because I'm not talking. Look, all I'm talking about off the land is where British brought slaves. They brought them to Cuba, Brazil, the Caribbean. Not the mainland. Nope. Sorry. Get on the panel and prove me wrong. Because I want to see y'all fly in Congress with getting reparations. If you ain't from the mainland, then you need to keep your mouth closed. If you ain't from the mainland, you need to keep your mouth closed. Seriously. If you're from any of the surrounding Caribbean islands, we ain't got shit to do with that. The British brought slaves from Africa to England and from Africa to the Caribbean. And that's a fact. That ain't got nothing to do with the United States transporting slaves. Sorry. It is important to note that after 1807, an illicit slave trade continued across the Atlantic, with over 1 million Africans transported to the Americas. Yep, mainly Cuba and Brazil, not on the mainland. This, boom, 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 boom. United States didn't transport millions of Africans to Cuba and Brazil. Not the United States. They didn't do that in 1807. Sorry. United States did not transport slaves. Hi, America. It was too many of us. Back in the 1600s, our ancestors were in power. We were giving land to the folks from British. We gave them the areas in where the 13 colonies are. Yeah, we did. Then they got in a war with the Pequots. Let me take it back. The 1500s. They was transferring, the British Empire was transferring slaves from Africa to England. That's why we be calling them Black Europeans. From Africa to England. They transferred in 1562, John Hawkins, the English slave trade. Voyages to Sierra Leone, transporting enslaved people to the Caribbean. This is why they have Africans on their census sheets. That was all the British government. Now, in 1619, Virginia colony was a British colony, and they brought 20 of them over here. So you can find 20 of their grandkids over there in Virginia. They still have to go to the British government because the British government got them. They came on an English privateer ship called the White Lion. The English brought them over here in 1619. We ain't have nothing to do with that. That was British. You need to go to King Charles' grandkids, sons, or whoever the hell's over there, the guy with the red curly afro, and Kate. And you need to go to them for reparations. They still over there. Am I lying? Did they move? Or well, I know two of them moved out. The younger brother and his wife, they moved out. The royal family. But there's still people over there. You need to go to them with your little funny reparations request and prove to them that they got you from Africa. Because United States, you're going to get rejected in court because we didn't have a slave trade. United States didn't have a slave trade. Nope. The British people got money, so you got to go over there and get the money from them. The people from Cuba and Brazil, from Africans that they brought over there, they got it. All of y'all have to go to the Queen of England if you want reparations, and the king over there, and the prince. They're over there. You can go ask them for the money, but you ain't getting nothing from the United States. And the Clotilda people, I think they should just be quiet because right now Trump's on a deportation rampage. He's not playing, so let him find out. And I know his administration is reading this because the Clotilda people is the first illegal immigrants. They're telling you right here. The ship was then burned and sunk to conceal the illegal act. It was an illegal act. Illegal immigration. So y'all better be quiet. Don't be asking for no reparations because they're going to deport you. Trump going to deport you. I'm telling you. So I don't know. The link is in the chat. I mean, bring it. I'm just came to drop the Jews to give you a wake-up call. Because it wasn't nobody in here in the 1600s but our ancestors and the colonists. 13 colonies. The British. We was working, our ancestors working with the British, giving them little lands like I just read to you. The 13 colonies and the little areas. Nobody else here but us. There wasn't Chinese, Asian, people from Asia here giving land to the British colonizers. That was us. Prove me wrong. Step on the panel. I just knocked out your request for reparations. You're not getting them. The only people that can get reparations are those Indians that were enslaved, prisoners of war. That would be our ancestors, not Africans. Y'all got to go to Britain. They brought y'all to England. And then they brought y'all to the Caribbean islands. Brazil, Cuba, Jamaica. You got to go to the Queen. Yeah. So, I mean, the panel's open. This is the only thing I'm talking about is the lies. So now, history was a lie even more. So when Jesse Jackson is talking to you about Africans being enslaved, you need to put your mouth megaphone on and say, excuse me, Al Sharpton and Jesse, we wasn't slaves brought from Africa. That would be the British Empire. So he needs to go to British if he's trying to fight for Africans that were brought here by the British government. Mr. Sharpton, you look real funny doing that. And your Wall Street, when you go to Wall Street, because I'm going to be out there with my megaphone letting you know that the reason why DEA shouldn't pass because no, because you're fighting for former slaves, but they weren't enslaved here. You need to be over in England on their Wall Street. That's where you need to go because that's where the Africans were. You can go over in Jamaica and help them out. In Jamaica, uh, get on the British government for bringing their ancestors there as slaves. But it was only 20 slaves that was brought here, so-called brought here. And they could have came from the British islands. Because why was they speaking Spanish when they came here? So obviously they didn't get them little 20 odd slaves that they brought to Virginia to trade for goods from Africa. No, they didn't. They either got them from Brazil or Cuba, you know, because they had Spanish names and they were speaking Spanish. So, Mr. Sharpton, you need to go find the descendants of them if they would stay alive to have grandkids in Virginia and Hampton. But then you still got to go to the British Empire. Is that Lotus? Oh man, you fell off. What happened to you? Oh, I just seen Lotus. I miss Lotus. Where you at, Lotus? I know you was trying to come up here, but you fell off. You must be in a bad area. But I'm just saying, this is why the Pan Africanism is going to lose. And those Clotilda people, I'm trying to blow the whistle for you so you can stay quiet because President Trump is not very happy right now. And information is out there about them, getting rid of that Clotilda ship and hiding it to reveal, to seal the illegal act. So if Trump finds out, I don't know what kind of attitude he gonna be in. I don't know about my president, man. Y'all gotta leave him alone because right now, folks is getting on my president's nerve, President Trump nerve right now. So y'all better be good because he is on a deportation mission. I'm serious. But I'm saying if y'all see any ships pulling up on the shore, there it is right there. Okay, that's straight smoke. Hey. And there's the number. What does it say? You can call U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, to report suspicious activity or for other immigration related concerns at 1-888-351-4024. They're also hiring, from what I'm told, their ICE is hiring. And if you want to be a positive part of getting illegal people out the country, because they could be very bad people, there's the 800 number down there. You can call them and report suspicious activity because we don't know these people's background that's here. But I'm going to keep letting that flash because that's public information. Hi, Straight Smoke. What's up? Your mic is muted if you're talking.
Muted?
Hey, Verica. Now I can hear you.
I said it's good to hear you as always. I just came up here because are you saying someone is actually challenging that reparations should come from America?
Golden Brown. I don't pay. Hold up. Let me address this person. I don't pay people money to do interviews. Golden Brown. Let me tell you something. My show is so damn good. I got 1,030 people watching. I don't need all the America watching me. With 1,004 people watching, word of mouth travels. I don't pay people to do interviews. Hell no. I got bills to pay. I don't pay people to come and do no interviews. There's nobody on the planet that important to me. Matter of fact, I like hearing myself talk anyway. But you got it, Straight Smoke. These people losing their mind. I'm not trying to pay your damn mortgage payment. I got mortgage payment bills to pay too.
Oh my God!
But go ahead. These people I'm crazy.
I'm just so. It's how could you actually believe what any if you know anything about history, how could the United States pay a slave reparations? The United States wasn't even formed.
Yeah, it didn't
That
exist.
would be, it didn't exist. That would, you would have to go check Spain, France, and England. That's who you got to go check. You better
There
get your
you
money
go.
over there. That's
And
all you got to do.
these people that's on the mainland now, they came in here through green cards with green cards, and some of them visas done ran out. They better get out of here. They got to go back to the Caribbean islands, wherever they got to come from with their little green cards. We ain't got nothing to do with giving them reparations. If you landed in Jamaica from being taken from Africa, because the British government is telling you, and they're openly telling you that they transported slaves from
Mhm.
England, from Africa to England, and from Africa to the Caribbeans, like Brazil and Cuba and Jamaica. You got to go to the British government because
Yep.
the United States didn't exist. I shut
I
down
don't understand
Ivan Curry.
that.
Okay.
because Marco Rubio he just in, what was it, last 3 weeks ago, they shut down all visas. Now I ain't gonna say all, but they shut down a lot of visas for some of these different countries. So it's over with. Y'all really about to get up out of here. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Go to work one day and you're gonna find out you overextended your visa, or your visa has been expired and you still trying to do XYZ 1, 2, 3. You about to have a first class trip right
Okay.
out of here.
Yes. And straight smoke. I'm just putting it out there because you have the people like Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton, you know, believing that we're African. Jesse did this. We're not no African Americans. They didn't bring us here. United States didn't bring slaves on ships. My family's not from Jamaica. My family's not from Brazil. My family's not from Cuba. And they didn't come all across no border or into the United States. We was already here. My family is from none of the countries where they brought Africans to England. My family didn't come from England. None of the British islands. None. There's
And
not one
that's what I'm saying.
or British
And
island
that's
person
what
in
I'm
my family.
that's what exactly what I'm saying, because you can tell someone that is African from someone that is American. You can
Yeah.
distinctly tell.
I mean,
And
if they're
I don't know
claiming
who
to
don't
be
understand
African,
that.
if they're claiming to be African, my first question is, okay, so are you from Jamaica? Did your family get taken from Africa and brought to Jamaica or Brazil or Cuba or Barbados, any of the British islands, and then you ended up in
Mhm.
America over on the mainland? And then you ended up in the United States. If that's the case, you have no case here. You have to go
Nope.
back where you came from. Or if Africa sold you, you have to go to African government and tell them that they sold your parents and you're back. You want to come back and claim you're part of the land in Africa.
And good luck with that
Yeah.
as well.
I mean, at least
Good luck with
the
that as
British,
well.
yeah, at least the British government at least tell you where they brought the slaves. They do tell you. So
Oh, they
that's
kept a
another
very great record.
yeah. So
They
when
kept
people
a
say they're
very great
African
record.
American, right? So like we know Puerto Rico, Central America, South America, Brazil, Cuba, all of those are in the Americas. We know that, but we're part of the Americas because those are not the United States. Those are other countries in America. And the British Empire distinctly said where they brought the slaves. And you can check in England too. See if you have any records in England because they brought a lot of Africans from Africa to England because they needed somebody to build it. build up England. So you could check to see if your family came from England. You could see if they came from Brazil, Cuba, Jamaica, and if you find them on in those government's records, then you can, go to the British Empire and tell them you want reparations. But see, I don't have a family history coming from England, coming from Brazil, Cuba, Jamaica, Barbados, just here on the mainland.
Just remember of when these other places became a part of the U.S. when we annexed them to make them of a subsidiary of us. It wasn't nowhere near what you think in timeline, ladies and gentlemen. It wasn't nowhere what you think. Don't think that
But
we
Golden
came and got
Brown,
y'all in the 1800s.
1932, 1889, 1890, that's not far back enough. I don't know if you claim to be African American, but you could check the British government records to see if your family came in from Brazil or Cuba or Jamaica. You could check and see, because that's where they brought the slaves, the British Empire. That's not far back enough, to say that you're Indian. 1890 is very recent. A lot of us go back to the 1700s and like
Yeah, you're gonna have to go back a lot
1800,
further
literally.
than that.
Yeah.
That sound like somebody that came from a neighboring what do you call that?
I don't know. I'm
Haiti?
not doing no genealogies right now. I'm done.
I'm just saying it sounds like somebody that came from a island, Cuba or something like that got here,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying, but no, no. So it's a lot of people that's been here for quite a long time before then.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to tell you. You probably need to check the records in these other places first.
We've gone back to the late 1700s on our records, and that's far enough. That's so close to the 1600s, but we didn't come from being here in the 1700s, okay? Because the graves are there. You remember, graves are there. So if their grave is there, your ancestor was here. If the grave was there from the 1700s, that's your ancestor's grave, okay? And if we're here in the 1700s, late 1700s, the Revolutionary War was in 1776. We were already here. And because we got the gravestones. All right. So remember, that is a key. Gravestones that been in the ground since the 1700s. Your family was on this landmass already. And they couldn't have been slaves because United States didn't bring slaves here. And the British government didn't bring slaves here on the mainland. They tell you where they brought them.
Last time I checked, didn't they say they didn't want no more black faces here? They needed to get more of their color here. It just you kind of have to look at I call balls and strikes.
There was so many damn Indians.
They didn't want
yeah.
Right.
There was so many damn
they didn't
Indians.
Want you.
It was so many damn Indians in here in 1751. This is prior to them even having the Revolutionary War. Benjamin Franklin said, yo, could you send some people that look like us over here? America is wholly so. It wasn't nobody here but people that look like me. Swarthy, tawny people. Wholly so, America. Could we bring some people over here that look like us? So they began sending in, the ships from Ellis Island and a lot of Your white Europeans started coming here after that. But other than that, I don't know what you're talking about, bro. But some straight smoke. With people like Al Sharpton pushing and Jesse Jackson talking about the African American during our times as being young men and women, African American, they were not here. And they're saying of the slave ships. You have the Nation of Islam talking about the slave ships. I'm like, what the hell? Are they talking about the British slave ships that went to Jamaica or Cuba or Brazil? Because wasn't no slave ships coming here?
Well, you have to understand, Farrakhan is Barbadian.
Okay, so he's talking about his peeps.
He's talking about his people.
Yeah.
I keep everything in straight context.
Yep.
I keep everything in straight context. But that's how that's to maneuver through these people. Like if you,
he could be a damn Pequot. He could be a Pequot, straight smoke. Because they threw a lot of Pequots in Barbados. Yeah, he could be a damn Pequot. What are you talking about, African American? He funny as hell.
If that's what, right? That's just you see the perm. Hey, what can you say?
No, he don't got no perm. He's got mulatto.
But as far as Al Sharpton,
now that's a perm pack.
What I was about to say with Al Sharpton, I mean, he was an FBI informant. How could you even remotely call him a reverend? Period.
I don't even know what reverend.
Thank you. That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. He's a fraud. He's always been a fraud his entire life. So for him to even for anyone to believe that he has a moral compass, you're gravely mistaken. But I yield.
Yeah, and if you look at the guys in the pictures, a lot of them don't even look American in the background. They look like they from the islands. That's why I said you have to be very careful of the people that's walking around in business suits. I'm keeping it a buck. Because a lot of them ain't us. Some of them are African Americans. A lot of African Americans came from England to here. And that's a fact. Your thoughts? They came here for a new life. See? The 20-odd Negroes. Now, I don't know. See, John Ruff, Virginia's first tobacco planter and husband of the Indian princess Pocahontas, reports the arrival of the first African-American slaves in English North America. It was 20-odd Negroes. Just 20 of them. So that was it. Those were the only ones in 1619 that were brought on the land. So if you could find their little grandkids running around, they still got to go to the British government because the British subjects didn't take over the 13 colonies until 1776. That's why they have the 4th of July. They took over the former subjects that came here. Their descendants took over the 13 British colonies, which later expanded into the United States of America, with the Indians joining in.
Perfectly stated. Perfectly stated.
So
I mean, it gets to the point where it's like you shouldn't have to keep repeating yourself. I don't know how you do it.
Them wasn't slave ships. Those was they were importing goods and we traded. Boy, girl, bye. I mean, really, like, what happened to, it's like They talk about slaves, right? All through the South and the North, right? What happened to all the damn Indians? The Indians was all over this landmass. All through the South, all through the North, the Indians was still there. Still there. That's why
It's
they
like
did not, huh? That's why they
it's
didn't
like they
bring slaves over here, because it was a bunch of people that look like me. All over the South, all in the North. They didn't need to bring none. The Indians was here. And yeah, it's mad. They get mad because and say, well, let's just call them black.
the first class warfare.
So
That's what I call it.
Yeah. It's it's just so funny. Those people, they were bringing them in, from the British. United States didn't import slaves. They didn't. That was the British. When did Rhode Island import slaves?
Not
You better be
never.
careful. When did they import slaves? And PDM1. When did they import them? Are they illegal immigrants like the Clotilda people? You better be quiet. What they do with the ship? What they do with the ship?
They suck that. Hey, that's another question. You don't find none of the wreckages, but they can find the Titanic.
Yeah.
Come on. Come on.
And then they can't never tell what ship it was and where the people is that came on the ship, who their grandkids is. They're a joke. They was not playing. The Indians did not want people coming on the land. What is wrong with y'all? You crazy.
Laughable. It's laughable.
Very laughable. Completely
I mean,
laughable.
you better get if you want reparations, I suggest you get you a British pound. Will not come back in USDA. No dollars for you. You got to go get some pounds.
Yeah, well, you need to go to Jamaica. I don't know, straight smoke. They scared. They know they can't come up here and mess with my information. They can't. They can't. You can't touch this. Do. Let's see. British government,
how can you though?
Was bringing in slaves, but they told you where they brought them. What is wrong with these people? It is important to note that even after 1807, an illicit slave trade continued across the Atlantic, with over 1 million Africans transported to the Americas, mainly Cuba and Brazil. They was not coming on this mainland. Not having it. Because in the 1800s, they was bringing in white European immigrants into the colonies, into the states. They was coming in Ellis Island. You are so you know what? You couldn't even said it better. Some people just don't want to know that. No, they don't want to know the truth. They don't want to know the truth. This Golden Brown is funny as hell. Talk about the white owner had a plantation in Jamaica. Well, again, you need to go to British government. It has nothing to do with the United States. United States have nothing to do with Jamaica. You talking British government. See, people don't want to smoke with Sister Bethy. Can't do it. You can't. I'm undebunkable. I go and find the truth, and it is what it is. And their records add up. I show you their census sheet. I already showed you their census sheets. British government. If you look at these dates, within these dates, you'll find when the slaves were imported. The British subjects didn't take over the 13 colonies until July 4th, 1776. That's all they had. July 4th, 1776 was the 13 colonies still. A United States didn't get formed until 1787. So the 13 colonies, the subjects took over the 13 colonies July 4th, 1776. Now, 1776, let's see how long after 1776 the United States formed. I believe it was 1787. Let's see. Yeah, 11 years. The 13 colonies didn't start expanding until 11 years after July 4th, 1776. So for 11 years, there was just the 13 colonies. All the way from, there was the 13 colonies from 1776 to 1787. They was still the 13 colonies. And then the United States formed. So anything with bringing slaves over here on ships, yo, you need to contact the British government. Like I said, the king and queens is still alive. Boom, 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 boom. Well, NP, you ain't bringing no proof. You type it in the chat. You starting to be very annoying. I'm getting ready to block you in a minute because, I mean, you sound foolish. You're not coming up here bringing no information, and you just sound like a little coward. Come up and be a man, you know. I mean, you hit the panel. You can't hit the panel. Bang, 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 bang. All I'm saying is making it very clear. United States of America did not import slaves. We were not slave importers. The United States of America did not import African slaves. The United States was actually very nice. They tell them there's a process to come over here to be a United States citizen. British, when you hear slave trade, think British Empire, not United States former subjects. They did not import slaves. Hey, Berica, we got to keep it a buck. Because, see, when you tell people, it's one thing. But when you put it up in their face and they see it like, oh, shit. Oh, shit. British are the ones who brought the slaves. But they said where they brought them at. The United States never brought slaves here. Bing, bing, bing. Now you see the truth. Because the British subjects, the former British subjects, rose up and warred with British to gain their independence. And in the 1600s, there was no Canada. Canada didn't come until or some years after the damn Revolutionary War. Years after. 1867. Let me see. Uh-oh. Damn, Canada wasn't established until 91 years after the Revolutionary War. The Revolutionary War was in 1776. Canada didn't get established until 1867. That's 91 years. So prior to 91 years, there was no Nova Scotia and Canada. Oh boy, here we go. I hope Allie Boom, I don't come up here starting no fights. I see you. Hey, we're focusing on British government versus United States government. What's good?
Good evening, Queen Mother. How are you today?
I'm good.
So I don't know if you got my Jubilee messages, but I'm listening.
I didn't read any of my emails. I even turned my phone off. So, what you got?
No,
I
I
was
just
just
think as a
trying.
concept, you might want to really consider what Jubilee means for the only American.
Oh, Jubilee. Yeah, I'm aware of Jubilee. But I've been focusing on people, getting what getting the religious leaders and black education leader people out their heads because they need to see. And when you really look at the British government versus United States, you can literally see, holy shit, the United States never transported slaves from Africa. It was the British Empire the whole time. So reparations will come from them if that's where you want to go ask. Good luck with that. Because they only brought 20 slaves here on the mainland in 1619.
You do know that is a problem when they may have left and came back. So when you actually get to the bottom of the origin of those 20 so-called negras, they were from the mainland, went to the island, and came back home.
I'm sorry?
When you get to the bottom of that story, you may find they were just returned home.
Who?
The 20 and odd negras. They were women, not Africans.
Yeah, I don't know where they came from, but they spoke Spanish. So, on the mainland, it wasn't Spanish language spoken on the
Unless you done
mainland.
forgot about Flo Rida. And if you look at one of those
Yeah.
traditional maps, Florida went all the way past Texas,
Yeah,
up to
I
what
get
we
that.
call the Midwest. So if there were Spanish speaking and Portuguese speaking settlers, certainly Spaniards, you know. But again, that's
I'm
still
willing.
making suppositions, Again, my only point is they were originating from here, transported to the island chain, and brought back to the mainland. That's what only point I'm making.
I kind of have a hard time believing that, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because Virginia was established in 1607. So seeing that, Jamestown needed some help out there, those so-called 20 slaves that were brought here, I'm willing to bet that they were brought from Cuba. If I was going to take a wild guess, the 20 women, they probably were from Cuba, speaking Spanish, or Brazil, because they had Spanish names, Antonia. So I'm going to put my
Oh,
last
I'm not,
dollar
and I
on
wouldn't
that
dispute
they
you on that,
probably
Queen
would
Mother,
come there. I don't
because
think they were returnees.
the inter-Americas trade routes was for centuries before any of these people, rolled up on our doorstep. But we keep seeing ourselves in proximity to them as opposed to being the center of the discussion. And that's got to stop. You know, that's what gets us in this slave mindset in the first place. We keep putting
Well,
foreigners before us. But go ahead, sis, you're cooking.
no, I'm just speaking in general of slaves brought here. These 20, if they were even brought here. But according to records, 20 slaves were brought to Virginia, Jamestown, and they spoke Spanish. So my guess is, they got them from Portuguese people and they traded with Virginia
And we
some
got
goods.
three ships:
So
the
so
treasure, the
all right,
White
this is
Lion.
the white lion is what I'm talking
Mm-hmm.
about.
Mm-hmm.
So the white lion is the only ship that came on the mainland with slaves. No other ships came here and brought Africans on this mainland. Africans didn't come here, their asses here until the United States develop a system for them to come here to get work visas and stuff like that. Africans was not on the mainland in the United States after 1776 until way later, like the 1900s. And they came here based on the way that the system had it set up for them to get in here. They had to go through a process to get in here. They were not brought here on the mainland. People from Jamaica still have to do that now. They come here on work visas. So the same process Jamaicans got to do to get up on this mainland is the same process Africans got to do.
You're going to reevaluate the timeline and the expiration in the American Constitution, the United States 1787 Organic Constitution, where this was supposedly outlawed in 1808. Because the actual article talks about migration and importation. You know, you might want to roll that in there when you like in your build. And what's the difference between migration and importation? The word slave has never been used in the context of the Constitution. It is only the 13th Amendment.
Migration is coming from one area of United States to another, from state to state. That's migration. Immigration is coming from another country.
Oh, no, sis. The word is importation. That's in the Constitution. It's migration or importation. You can look it up when you get a chance. I just find it interesting.
If they're coming from the British Islands, that would be importation, not migration.
Yeah, but you get the point that I'm making. I'm talking about the use of the language. And never was the word slave used, not in the text of the Constitution. It's not until the 13th Amendment that slavery is even mentioned.
Correct.
So when you're importing persons, because that's what it says in the Constitution, what do you think that means?
Say that again.
It said the migration and importation of persons.
I'm lost with you, what you're saying.
No, it's the specific part of the Constitution where it refers to the expiration of what we have been taught in history as the transatlantic slave trade. That's not what's stated in the Constitution. You feel what I'm saying?
Correct.
Because our whole issue is really, like you said, it's immigration with an I, not with an E.
Correct.
Immigration isn't with an E, is within states and territories of what we've called the United States as of now. Migration, which is what is in the Constitution. Let me get my pocket one, see if I can pull it up for you. Let me unmute for a second. But I just thought that's something you might want to consider in your bills going forward. Migration and importation.
Well, my only reason for coming on live today, so people could see the difference between the two.
I got it for you. It's Section 9. You ready?
Of a expired Constitution?
No. Article 1, Section 9, Clause 1. You ready?
What year? What year is that Constitution?
The organic one of 1787. This is the original text of the Constitution. Okay. So this is Article 1, Section 9, Clause 1. Ready?
Okay.
The migration or importation of such persons as any of the states now existing shall think proper to admit shall not be prohibited by the Congress prior to the year 1808. But a tax or duty may be imposed on such importation, not exceeding $10 for each person. I can reread that for you, but what do you think on that? And again, remember, 1808 808. But what were we taught in curriculum? That is the Atlantic African slave trade.
Mm-hmm.
But you see what I'm saying about wording?
Mm-hmm.
So one more time, right quick. Again, it's a very short paragraph. Article 1, Section 9, Clause 1. The migration
Article
or
1.
import, Section 9, Clause 1. The migration or importation of such persons as any of the states now existing shall think proper to admit. Now, let's pause there for a minute. What do you think that means when it says that the states or the colonies, because they haven't accepted the Constitution yet, so as they think proper to admit?
Okay,
What
so Article 1, Section 9, Clause 1 of the United States Constitution restricts Congress's power to regulate the migration and importation of people, specifically allowing the continuation of the slave trade until 1808. It also permits Congress to levy a tax of up to $10 per person imported.
Now,
Okay.
you see how they manipulated that with modern language? But now, if
Yes.
you read it exactly the way I read it, tell me what you interpret it to mean.
Read it again.
The migration or importation of such persons as any of the states now existing shall think proper to admit shall not be prohibited by the Congress prior to the year 1808, but a tax or duty may be imposed on such importation, didn't mention migration, not exceeding $10 for each person. So see, the tax is what makes people presume the persons must be property. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't say anything about taxing the migration. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But reading it as it's actually written, what do you think? Now, we're giving interpretations. That's what this curriculum is doing. They're interpreting it to presume the slave trade. But is it really?
Interesting.
So, because there's layers to this. We already know the indentured servant aspect of it. In Great Britain, as you go back forth with British government and whatnot, transportation was a penalty for all debtors. The debtor prisoners had two options. They would be put to death or transported to the New World and the colonies. The transportation penalty was a contract handed over to the ship captain. He then, in turn, sold that, and I'm using indentured in quotes, contract, if you will, to which businesses? And they weren't just plantations. What about a miller or a textile in the north, or cobblers, or in the case of Benjamin Franklin, he was an apprentice, quote unquote, indentured service to his brother as a printer. That's how he got into the printing game. You see what I'm saying?
Well, they were talking about white Europeans at that point.
So the
As
verbiage
far as
is
being the
migration or
enslaved
importation.
Africans.
Mm.
Right. There in 1808, being that it's they prohibited the Congress from regulating migration and importation of people or persons.
Within, I would argue,
and they're trying to
inside
say that the
and
persons are
between the
Africans.
colonies.
Right.
Yeah.
It was in 1808. Being in 1808, they certainly weren't talking about Africans. They couldn't have been. They're trying to say that the persons was understood to be primarily referred to enslaved Africans. Now, these enslaved Africans could have been white people, just like what's his name? The white African guy that's rich.
Oh, you talking about Elon Musk? Well, any one of the
Yeah, it could be a bunch of
mafia.
them.
Yeah, well,
It could be them.
Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, David Sachs, and picked both
Yeah.
his grandson.
Yeah, it could
Roloff.
be them,
That's
but at this
before.
point, when they're talking about persons in 1808, they got to
Mhm.
be referring to white Europeans coming in because they were the only ones coming in on ships from Ellis Island through Ellis Island.
Yeah, again, one more time, importation. You feel what I'm saying?
Right,
They
right.
did
They were
not
being
use the
imported in.
word slavery.
Correct.
So
Correct.
this is an immigration, which we already know that, Bethy. I mean, that's what,
Mm-hmm.
those of us in this community, this is about foreign invaders, period. I don't care their flavor. I don't care their origin, their country of origin. I don't even care what their sob story is. We want to call them refugees and all this other stuff. I don't care. But what I find interesting is we don't read the document. You feel me?
Right, right, right. I get it.
And let's not forget one final thing about the timeline. Remember Louisiana Purchase between 1800 and 1804,
Yeah, the bill we never saw, but you got it.
which doubled the so-called expansiveness of importation. You feel me now, sis?
Yep.
You feel me? Okay, all right. So, I mean, I don't know. I just thought I'd just hand that over to you. I know you're probably ready to shut it down.
No, it's just that I just find it to be so interesting that they tried to insert the word Africans in there, and there's no mentioning of Africans in the Constitution.
Well, there's no mention of
And they're
any
saying that the
ethnic
context is
population.
understood. It's
That's why I
understood.
keep
No, the hell it
stressing.
ain't. Who understands that?
The
Who
only
understood that?
identified population is Indian. We can feel whatever kind of way you want to feel about the word, but it is the
Correct.
only reference to a people, not
Correct.
Arabs, not Asians, not Africans, not natives, and certainly not Hispanic. Although
Correct.
Hispaniola
Or
is what has
Jamaicans.
been turned into Hispanic because Hispania, that's Spain, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all Hispanic means is you speak a Spanish, Portuguese, or Latin language.
Facts. They kill me. This shit is funny. They really trying to hide themselves.
Mhm.
Because they go into saying this clause is a key example of how the Constitution grappled with the issue of slavery, reflecting the political compromises
You see how they
necessary.
keep doing that? Now
Yeah,
I don't know if
for
that
the
was AI
nation.
driven, the response that
Yeah,
you're
it is.
reading,
It
but
is. It is. It is. It's them trying to insert African. I'm gonna read it again, y'all. That context of what Ali Bamu read, they're saying this clause is a key example of how the Constitution grappled with the issue of slavery. Slavery reflecting the political compromises necessary for the nation's formation. It's also important to note that the term persons in this context was understood primarily to refer to enslaved Africans. We didn't have no damn enslaved Africans.
wait a minute. You see,
Are they talking
now,
about the
okay.
Virginia 21?
Now you see why I'm going to
Exactly.
reiterate again the use of the term migration and importation. What does migration mean? People moving, right?
Yep.
Doesn't identify any specific group of people, does it?
Mm-mm.
And importation is levels to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But most people presumption is importing goods, products, items, right? But they said importation of person.
Correct.
And these trichoniggonologists want to keep stamping the American known as the Negro as made in Africa. That diabolical shit is over.
Facts.
Okay.
My name is Bethy, Bethy, not Betty. So I know you're from the islands if you're calling me Sister Betty. I'm not from the islands, yo. My name is not Betty. In fact,
Oh boy.
my real
Be
name.
the one.
There you go.
Morning
That is
Thunder.
my
Be the
real
one.
birth name on my birth certificate. And so please do not call me Betty. I don't know no Bettys.
Yes, you do.
I don't.
Bam Bam's
Well, I
mama.
do. I know
Bam
Betty,
Bam's
but
mama.
there
Flintstone.
you go. There you go. Anyway, that's my short name. My short name. Please do not call me Betty. Hey, so just so y'all
No, I
know,
just want you. I
go
just want you to
over.
contemplate that when you go forward with this
Yeah.
migration importation. transportation as penalty from Britain,
Mm,
and the difference of the Spanish and Portuguese under what turned into blanqueamiento. And oh God, I'm drawing a blank now on what the phrase was, because it was the contract thing that was
mm,
operational for the conquistadors. I can't think of it right now. It's on the tip of my tongue. But this is the whole problem of us not explaining what the doctrine of discovery was and how it was implemented. It was just implemented in cultural differences. They were all,
right.
you know my phrase, you know my phrase, you know my phrase. Get
There's only
the
one
nigger.
there.
That's
Yep.
all the agenda has always been.
Get the Indian, kill the Indian, save the man.
So I just wanted to share that with you. When you get a chance, maybe you want to do a build on that actual clause. And then Section 8 talks about the powers bestowed on the House of Representatives. But
Correct.
I just thought it's interesting when people keep being told, well, they outlawed the transatlantic slavery in the Constitution. No. What does the word say again? Migration or importation.
Correct.
And we need to operate with that sensibility going forward. Thank you for the time, sis. You have a wonderful Sunday evening.
Oh, and I also shared with the audience before, when I ended the slides, where the AI information come from, because you get these people in here and they Google, and right here is telling you where the AI information you're reading comes from. It comes from journalists and reporters. It comes from researchers and academics. It comes from company spokespeople and content creators. It comes from authors and writers, people that write books. And it comes from educators and trainers. And the
Which are all
diverse,
indoctrinated.
correct.
Every category of people that you just identified is indoctrinated. Now, where
Okay.
is that secret sauce that this supercomputer they got going that's looking in the court records and first sourced material and the Smithsonian, the Louvre, the British Museum? You feel me, sis? That locked away shit.
Yeah,
Where's that secret sauce?
man, you
Yeah.
better go look yourself.
But you know it is. It's being, because all this stuff is being digitized. By
Yeah.
getting your hands on original copies, which are behind glass and under halon gases or whatever, so it doesn't deteriorate,
Mm.
this is the type of stuff we don't even think about. But the next level of this is behind the scenes. Most people don't know the internet was created under a defense program that's called DARPA. That was the ARPANET, was the first
Mm.
iteration of what is the World Wide Web today. Do we know about any of that information? I don't think so. But
Mm.
enjoy your Sunday, sis.
Thank you, brother Ali Bamu. Hey, y'all, listen. I came on today because I wanted you to know. You needed to know. You needed to know in case you didn't know, because now you know. These people fighting for reparations, I just showed you how they need to go to the British government, because it was the British government that was importing slaves, but they didn't employ them. They didn't import them in the 13 colonies. They did not. There was already it, because I showed you how they only had the little lands. Let me see if I could get it back up. Little pieces of lands, and they didn't have power over the entire landmass. Let's see. They didn't have power over the entire land. The British government on the right, and then is
I
on the right.
always like your 10
13
square
colonies.
mile analogy, sis.
Right.
Those were 10 square mile settlement. Oh, and that's the other clause in there too. Oh man, that was the other part. It mentioned
Hold
the
on.
military district. Let me let
Right.
me
Hold
let me
on.
share this
Hold
with you
on.
before I go. I'm on mute.
Hold on. British government versus United States. On the left, the British government was in the 13 colonies. Here listed on the right. It's two missing there on the bottom. They just got chipped off. But they were in power in their little 13 colonies in like 1 to 2 areas in each of these now with our states. All the other land on the entire landmass of North America belonged to the Indian. including Canada, area in Canada and Nova Scotia. All this belonged to the Indians. Canada did not get established until 1867. So all this area of the land, the rest of the land outside of the little area that the Indians gave to the colonizer, did business with the colonizer, gave them these little pieces of land. In Virginia, they only had Jamestown. In New York, they only had Amsterdam, which is Harlem. And I forgot the other one. Each one of these just had a little piece of land.
You talking
And
about
they
the
ruled.
boroughs now when you're talking about New York.
Right. They only had it. I think I had that. Yeah, I did all of them. Let's go back. I went through each and every one of them already. Let me see. New York. This is New York. They only had New Amsterdam, which is Manhattan, and then Fort Orange, which is present day Albany, New York. That's all they had. The rest of New York belonged to the Indians.
Pause there, sister. I'm going to give you your facts from the Constitution. You ready?
Yep.
The word you just said. This is Article 1, Section 8, 15, 16, and 17. Just walk with me for a second. 15. To provide for calling forth the militia to execute the laws of the Union, suppress insurrections, and repel invasions. 16. To provide for organizing, arming, and disciplining the militia, and for governing such part of them as may be employed in the service of the United States, reserving to the states respectively the appointment of the officers, the authority of training the militia according to the discipline prescribed by Congress. And 17, this is your mic drop. To exercise exclusive legislation in all cases whatsoever over such district, in parentheses, not exceeding 10 miles square, close parentheses, as may by session of particular states and the acceptance of Congress become the seat of the government of the United States, and to exercise like authority over all places purchased by the consent of the legislature of the state, in which the same shall be for the erection of forts, magazines, arsenals, dockyards, and other needful buildings. Mic drop. So do you want me to say it once more time? In the parentheses, not exceeding 10 miles square. You know what my thought is on that, Bethy?
Mm-hmm.
The state capitals.
There you go.
You feel me, sis?
I do.
So, on that note, enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening.
The state capitals were already there. Those structures were already there, occupied by the Indians.
No. You're missing the point I'm making. I'm talking about them calling it a military district. This is what you said all along. The militias and the military districts that serve the Union shall not exceed 10 miles square. You feel me, sis?
Yes.
Mic drop.
Yes. I do. And I'll give you the bomb drop for that. This is a fact. So right here, when in Virginia, I'm naming all the colonies. Virginia, all they had was Jamestown in 1607. That's all they had. In New York, they just had, I'm going to read up-to-date language, Manhattan and Albany. That's it. Nothing else. All the rest of New York was the Indians. In Massachusetts, all they had was Plymouth, where they land on a rock, and Massachusetts Bay. That's it. That was it. All they had was Plymouth. All the rest of the land was the Indians. And then later on, they got little areas like Charlestown, Roxbury, Watertown, Weymouth, but there's still little areas. Maryland.
Queen Mother, I'm telling you, you gotta have to incorporate Jubilee in the statement you just made. You're gonna have to incorporate it. And I think you'll get it when you review what I sent you. And it's only 3 paragraphs, but it states very explicitly about land reclamation, slaves freed, prisoners freed, debts forgiven. But I'll yield on that. But I'm going to go and get my dinner. You enjoy your Sunday.
Okay. Same to you. And in Maryland, all they had was what is it? Mary's City. That's it. A former Yakomiko Indian village. That's all they had in Maryland. In Rhode Island, they just had Providence, Portsmouth, Newport, and Warwick, but in different years. In 1636, all they had was Providence. Then in 1638, they got Portsmouth. And then in 3 years later, 1639, they got Newport. And then in 1642, they got Warwick. And these are the people who founded them. Samuel Gorton, let's see, William Coddington and Ann Hutchinson founded Portsmouth. And then Roger Williams founded Providence. In Connecticut, all they had first was Hartford, Windsor, Wethersfield. They got these, later. New Haven, Fairfield, Guilford, Milford, Stratford, Farmington, New London. They started expanding a little bit. New Hampshire, all they had was Portsmouth, Dover, Exeter, and Hampton. All the rest of this land was the Indians. So who do you think they was working with when they made the Constitution? In 1638, because the Indians didn't join the Union. And those that didn't join went to Oklahoma, and there wasn't a whole lot of them. Delaware, all they had was Wilmington. In North Carolina, all they had was Albemarle and Albemarle. South Carolina, all they had was Charleston. All the rest of the land was the Indians. New Jersey, all they had was colonists, and this is along waterways like Hudson River, Newark Bay, Delaware River, and Bay. Key areas included Bergen, now which is Jersey City. They had Jersey City, Hackensack, Newark, and Accoquantock. Pennsylvania, all they had was, let's see, the Dutch, they had Penn. They just had little areas. All the rest of the land was the Indians. In Georgia, all they had was Savannah to begin with in 1732. And then, I can't express the two differences. When the slaves was imported, they told us when the slaves were imported. They didn't come on the mainland. In 1607 to 1776, all this land right here, where you see Indian territories with this light purple, light lavender right here, all of it was Indian land, including some of the areas in where they have 13 colonies on the map. They didn't have the whole state, and they just had, it's just showing you where their colonies was at. But they didn't have like the whole Virginia. The whole North Carolina is what I was telling you. That's why I read out the area that the colonists had. But this whole map, Indian land, all of it. Canada didn't even exist in 1600s. Canada didn't exist until 1867. Same thing with Nova Scotia. All that was Indian land. And then they put up the damn fake borderline between Canada in the United States. And right here, this is where I explained to the audience when they brought in slaves. They didn't bring them here. In 1555, the first recorded individual to take enslaved people from Africa to England. They went from Africa to England. So maybe that's why they call them the Black Europeans, but that they went from Africa to England. In 1562, John Hawkins initiates English slave trade with voyages to Sierra Leone, transporting enslaved people to the Caribbean. Nowhere in here, 1619, 20 enslaved Africans landed at Point Comfort, today's Fort Monroe, in Hampton, Virginia, aboard the English privateer ship. Just 20 slaves. Nowhere else in the United States did the British bring slaves. So you African Americans and you people coming on the land that ain't from here, call yourself trying to fight for some damn reparations, you're gonna have to go to the British government, because at this time, in these years, the British subjects that were here in the colonies working on the fields, they didn't import slaves. The British imported slaves, but to these areas. So you need to go to British government for your reparations, and you need to prove. I guess the British government is probably going to ask you to prove that they took you from Africa and brought you to England, or they took you from Africa and brought you to the Caribbean, or you could prove that these 20 African slaves that they brought to Virginia are your grandparents. Other than that, no, boo boo. That's it. The apprenticeship scheme for formerly enslaved individuals in the Caribbean ends. They ended in 1838. The apprenticeship for the folks in the Caribbean islands. It is important to note that even after 1807, an illicit slave trade continued across the Atlantic, with over 1 million Africans transported to the Americas, mainly Brazil and Cuba. That's so if you prove to the British government that your family was taken from Africa and brought to Cuba and Brazil, you got claims with the British government, not the United States. The United States did not exist. And then the so-called Clotilda on July 9th, 1860, they're saying that ship arrived in Mobile, Alabama with 110 African men, women, and children. This was 52 years after the international slave trade was outlawed. The ship was then burned and sunk to conceal the illegal act. So I'd be very careful if you're from Mobile, Alabama, claiming to be a damn descendant of a slave to get reparations, because it was illegal. It was an illegal act. And if that means you an illegal immigrant because you burned it, they done burned and sunk the damn ship. So you illegal. Y'all the first illegal immigrants. Y'all better be quiet, because Trump's on a deportation. He's on the deportation road. So y'all Mobile, Alabama people better be quiet, because y'all are illegal immigrants. To hide the act, they hid it. So be very careful. All I'm saying is, United States government did not bring slaves. There was no slave importations conducted by this here United States government. Not in the 1600s, not in the 1700s, not in the 1800s. The enslaved people here were Indians and white Europeans that came over as British subjects. All right. Look, these ain't my documents. They're not my documents. They're the government's documents from all different states. So I'm about to get up on out of here. I'm tired. I've been on for 2.5 hours. I did not want to stay on long. I love y'all to the moon and back. And y'all smash that like button. And I hope you enjoyed the show. I'm out.